There will be a button somewhere in the corner right now. You can use it to vote. Do you want to hear the words, "The Shooting Range," at the start of the show? In this episode, Pages of History, a destroyer that almost killed a president. Challenge. What are rockets capable of? And Metal Beasts, the speedy Italian with a twin recoilless gun. The first hero of this episode is the Otto R3 T106FA, an extremely lightweight and fast Italian armored car that sits at BR 7.0. Its declared max speed in RB is off the charts, 115 kph. And even though in real combat conditions you probably won't get much more than about 50 or 60 kph out of it, that's still damn fast. Let's take a closer look. There are two 106mm recoilless rifles mounted on the roof of the vehicle's hull. They can be fired together, or independently. Elevation angles are from -7 degrees to +10 degrees. As a bonus, there are two 12.7mm MGs, each coaxial with one of the big guns. The engine is located in the rear, right behind the crew. Your ammunition is stored in the center, right below the gunner. Next to him are the commander and the loader, while the driver is sitting in the front. When it comes to ammo selection, you have a heat round capable of piercing 381mm of armor at any distance, and a Hesh round with a penetration rate of 152mm. You get to carry 10 rounds max, 5 for each gun. That's more than enough. A single shot from your gun is very likely to cripple or completely destroy almost any opponent at this rank. Just keep in mind that your rounds travel relatively slowly and have ballistics that take some getting used to. A rangefinder will prove to be extremely useful when firing at long-range targets. With such limited combat stock, you can't afford missing any of the shots. Speaking of armor, there is none. Just like that. How can we speak about armor, though, when the whole thing weighs less than 3.5 tons? Your front is protected by only 33mm of aluminium armor plating, and the sides won't even stop a machine gun bullet, which means that the first hit will probably be your last. On the other hand, sometimes the lack of armor can actually be beneficial. Many rounds won't meet enough resistance to explode on impact, or just simply go straight through your car without dealing any serious damage. That requires some luck, though. It pays to be careful while driving. A lot of obstacles that you won't even notice on a heavier vehicle become a real problem on a car that light. It's not the best of ideas to corner aggressively at speed. You might flip over. Be wary of trees and utility poles. Retreating isn't your strongest suit either. When going in reverse, you'll squeeze, at best, a bit more than 6 kph out of it, and the R3 can't turn on the spot. How to play it then? The easiest tactic is to rush capture points. Even the lightest of tanks will have difficulty catching up with you. And even if somebody somehow manages to get to the zone first, your two recoilless rifles will make short work of any vehicle of that class, and you still have plenty of time to get out after the capture. In many cases, there won't be any need for that, though. This tiny and extremely mobile car can easily hide behind some big shed or a pile of debris, or vanish into the landscape showing only its guns, and then engage in some very effective surprise warfare right under the enemy's nose until you run out of ammo. If you decide to disengage, it's better to do that by going forwards. A few seconds that you would lose going in reverse and turning around will almost certainly get you sent to the garage. In contrast, if you press on, you will quickly gain speed and will be able to, well, speed past the enemy. It takes time to turn the turret, and you will most likely be gone by that point. Having become used to weapon ballistics and to using the rangefinder, you won't have much difficulty dealing with opponents even at mid to long ranges. It's important to remember that each gun takes not less than 10 seconds to reload, which is a lot when compared to many other vehicles at this rank. But if you set up separate controls for each gun and then use them one after the other, the reload time will be effectively halved. The R3 is a very special beast. Lightning-fast attacks, sudden captures, ambushes, ambushes everywhere. And that's just some of the things this combat vehicle is capable of in the hands of a veteran player. The USS William D. Porter, or simply Willie D., was a pretty regular Fletcher-class destroyer of the U.S. Navy. She was launched in 1942, was later commissioned, and, within a year, was already taking part in its first big mission. It was far from hard, though. William D. Porter, with a number of other ships, was a part of an escort mission following the USS Iowa, which carried President Roosevelt en route to a meeting in Tehran. You know which one. What could possibly go wrong? The first mishap happened while William D. Porter was just departing. Her anchor tore the railing and lifeboat mounts off a sister destroyer docked nearby, the USS Cogswell, or the USS Young. People didn't pay much attention to that one, but the very next day, Porter was in for yet another incident. She lost one of its depth charges, as it seemed it hadn't been secured properly, and just fell into the rough sea. That's not all. The charge exploded, causing all other escort ships to take evasive maneuvers. They, logically, assumed that the task force had come under torpedo attack. The ships were weaving along until there was a signal which came from Porter. Our mistake. Okay. After a bit of swearing, the task force was on its way once again. Some days later, at Roosevelt's request, the ships of the escort conducted some drills to demonstrate their prowess in combat. First, Iowa released a number of balloons, which were quickly shot down by gunners. Then destroyers demonstrated a torpedo drill by simulating a launch at Iowa. No one was supposed to launch actual torpedoes, but something went awry again. The ship made a beautiful turn, arrived at her position. Officers were shouting commands, and then, instead of the next command, utter silence. There was a combat torpedo cutting its way through the waves. A torpedo from William D. Porter that somehow discharged from its tube and headed towards Iowa. The people who were there would remember the next 5 minutes for the rest of their lives. Lieutenant Commander Wilfred A. Walter, who was in command of Porter, realized that he was about to torpedo his own flagship, carrying the President of the United States. He immediately ordered his crew to warn Iowa of the incoming danger. The thing was, there were strict orders to maintain radio silence. So Porter had to use a signal lamp instead. And then, perhaps because of the hurry or the inexperience of the signalman, the destroyer relayed the wrong message. Instead of saying that a torpedo was in the water, Porter efficiently informed Iowa that she was backing up. There was no time to lose. In desperation, Lieutenant Commander Walter ordered to break radio silence. and finally relayed a warning message. Of course, only after Porter had been reprimanded by Iowa's radio operator for not using proper code words. And then it was time for utter silence once again. It wasn't long, though. In a few seconds, the flagship was already turning hard to avoid being hit by the torpedo that missed the battleship by that much. Roosevelt even asked his attendee to move his wheelchair to the side of the battleship so that he could see. The whole situation constituted some quality fun to him, we guess. Iowa's commander didn't find the situation funny in the slightest, though. According to legend, the flagship immediately trained her 9 main guns on William D. Porter. Clearly, there was some explaining to do. Understanding that at the time like that, clarity of communication was key. Porter instantly confirmed that, yes, it was they who launched the torpedo. As you can probably guess, that didn't do much to de-escalate the situation. Finally, Roosevelt had to intervene. He asked the incident to be over and done with. After those unfortunate events, the unlucky destroyer took part in a few campaigns and carried out many missions without any particular problems, right up until the day it was sunk by kamikazes close to Okinawa. But before that happened, all American ships meeting Porter made a point of greeting the destroyer by relaying the same message, "Don't shoot, we're Republicans." Roosevelt was a Democrat, after all. A new shooting range calls for a new challenge. Today, we will try to answer a simple question. What can be destroyed with rockets, you asked? We delivered. Let's start simple. We take the very sensible Soviet RS-82 rockets and try to take out a Nihongo Ki-onzuku, or Japanese Ki-49 bomber. We approach the target, launch. What? Did you expect a different outcome? Of course, no aircraft is able to eat a rocket without consequences. Let's move on to targets on the ground. This time, we will take American HVARs and will launch them at, let's say, a Soviet IS-2. We make our run over the target, launch, and that's a hard no from the IS. We'll try it again. This time, we'll strike it a bit more vertically. We send our rockets to the roof of the engine compartment, and there it is. The vehicle is gone. Let's make it harder. Our next target is a mouse, and our next weapons of choice are the British RP-3s. We approach the target. Here comes our barrage. And that's nothing. Yep, 60 millimeters of armor on the roof are fully capable of withstanding our attack. We try again. This time, we're specifically targeting the engine compartment. Okay, much better. But at least it's on fire now. But, and that's a big but, it's still operational. And we are out of rockets. RP-3s are certainly not powerful enough for a target like that. Okay? Let's do it with something with more bite, such as, for instance, the American Tiny Tims. IRL was used to sink at least one ship, so in theory, there won't be a single molecule intact if we drop it on a mere tank. Launch! A direct hit. And it's gone. That's hardly our limit, though. It's the challenge, after all. Let's test the Fritz X against, well, what is bigger than a mouse? Let's see. 2 of them? No, 3. That's more like it. While we're approaching the target, place your bets. Will we get all 3 of them or not? What do you think? We will see what comes of it in a few seconds. We guide the bomb to the target. Boom! All 3 tanks are done for. As you see, small rockets behave more or less like conventional HE shells. They can penetrate a bit of armor, and to destroy a target, you typically need a few good hits. At the same time, big rockets work more like air bombs. There ain't no saving from there. There was only one thing left to check: ships. Let's go straight to the big ones. Our target is a German Emden. We'll attack it on the carrier-capable French Corsair, armed with 5-kilogram SNAB Type 23 rockets. Let's turn its AA defenses off to maintain an experimental integrity. We get closer, start to pepper the cruiser with our rockets. It's not very effective. There are some fires going on and we dealt some damage, but that's basically all. Let's try again. And Emden is finally defeated. One last thing. We have to sink Krasny Kavkaz. We assume that a couple of Tiny Tims might do the trick. Let's test it. We approach the target. There it goes. And the mags of the ship blow up. Didn't even need to use guided bombs. The lesson here is that rockets can destroy everything. Relatively small targets, like aircraft, rarely require more than one hit. When fighting against vehicles of a larger size, be it ground vehicles or ships, try sending a few rockets. If it doesn't work the first time, then send some more. And if you have a lot of rockets and the target is really big, you can bombard it with rockets until it's all burning and completely destroyed. Good luck. The first message comes from a player called Tovitsoteve. Thanks for adding Serbian language. We're glad that you liked it. Thanks for playing War Thunder. Boost Livius, yep, it's me, rather eloquently, writes, gun barrel as solid object, please? Hi. This is something that was decided a very long time ago. We tested this. Just imagine, the fight hasn't even started yet, and a third of all tanks is already out of commission. A barrel of one vehicle got stuck in a rock, another one is scraping a building so that you can't go round the corner. Sorry, but that's a hard pass. This is exactly the case when realism hinders gameplay. The next question was asked by Matei Bartichka. Could anyone explain to me how it is possible for APCBC with HE filler to have more penetration than a solid AP? Hi. In most cases, AP rounds penetrate better than HE shells, that's true. But then there are a lot of factors to consider when comparing a specific APCBC and a specific solid shot. Is there a ballistic cap? Is there a nose cone? What's its velocity mass? Shape. Moreover, when it comes to the APCBC rounds, explosive filler actually takes very little room in the shell when compared to HE shells. That's why sometimes a round with some explosive filler can have really good penetration rates. Take, for instance, the American M62 and M79. They're both really good examples. Jonathan Harris asks, why is the mouse fighting in post-war tanks? Let us also ask you a question. Do you remember why mouse didn't participate in World War II? It's simple. By the end of the war, it was still at the prototype stage. If you account for the time that it would actually take to finish the design, and for the tank to actually enter production, following the production itself, then the time before it could actually enter service, plus creating infrastructure, training crews and whatnot, you'd need years for the mouse to enter service in any reasonable numbers. It's just that the war, and thank goodness for that, had been over before any of that happened. So the mouse is technically a post-war vehicle, and that's why it fights other post-war designs. Then there is a message from a player called Mustang 1215. He asks, "Can we have a ship triathlon with destroyers or cruisers?" Actually, why not? Thanks for your suggestion. A user that goes by the name of Taps47 says, "How do I submit a video for War Thunder? I have a juicy kill. BR 1.0 versus BR 6.3. Ooh, a juicy fight indeed. It's rather simple. Upload your video to YouTube and send the link to thundershow@gaijin.ru. Don't forget that the letter should contain info about your in-game nickname and the associated email, so we can send you your prize should you win." Well, that's it for today. You were watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment. Watch other videos on the channel. Click the... Okay, stop. We all know how it goes. Let's cut to the chase. This is our channel. You can subscribe to it right now. That really helps to track our new videos while they're still relevant. And without that bell, YouTube will sometimes think that you aren't interested that much in our new videos and will show only some of them. Press the bell and force it to simply do its job without all those shenanigans with algorithms. Thanks a bunch. Leave likes and tell us what you think in the comments below. See you in a week.